With modern technology, the Western world is seeing a number of RPGs that have previously never left Japan, such as Popular Croix or Trials of Mana. The one series that continues to remain elusive to the Western world is Summon Night. It's a series that's been going for a good while in Japan, but much like Sega's Sakura Wars franchise, English-speaking territories only have a select handful of games. One of those is Summon Night Swordcraft Story for the Game Boy Advance, so let's have a look and see if it's worth playing, or should we just tell Japan, "We don't want it! Go away! You can't keep the Smegger!" The game takes place in a multi-leveled city called Weiston. You know those anime where the entire world revolves around a children's fad? Shows like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Beyblade, or Bakugan, and they hold tournaments for the fad that are somehow a bigger sporting event than the World Cup. Well, it's the same thing in this game, except here, the fad is building and wielding weapons. You can choose to play as either a girl or a boy who looks suspiciously like Genus from Tales of Symphonia, and after that, your ultimate goal is to win the tournament and become a craft lord, which is basically a member of the city council who also doubles as a local law enforcement officer. And apparently film and television exist in this world. After the tournament's opening ceremony, you can choose your dialogue options to decide which one of 4 summon spirits will be your companion throughout the game, hence why it's called Summon Night. You can choose between either a robot airplane that looks like an insane Thomas the Tank Engine fan character, an only devil, a model for an anime waifu body pillow, or a Pokemon reject who I used for this playthrough. Now, I'd like to get onto the gameplay, but unfortunately the game has a pretty slow start. It took like half an hour before I actually got into a battle. Oh well, at least it was quicker than in Star Ocean or Trails in the Sky. It's definitely worth the wait though, because this game actually has a really good battle system. It's a lot like Tales of Phantasia, but a lot faster paced. As you progress through the game, you'll get different weapon types that all play differently. You have swords for a triple slash, lances for long range stabbing, axes for slow heavy swings, gloves to go all Rocky Balboa on the baddies, and drills for breaking enemy weapons. You also have your summon spirit casting spells at the push of a button, though rather than a traditional pool of MP, each spell has a set amount of ammunition. Now let's talk about why it's called Swordcraft Story. You can probably guess from the title that it's one of those crafting RPGs like Rune Factory. You build your own weapons at one of the forges in either your bedroom, bronze boat, or in the lower levels of the city's underground labyrinth. All the items you find can be broken down into minerals to make weapons from. There are just 5 types of mineral, which means less running around to find obscure items to build something. This actually takes away a lot of the frustration I usually associate with crafting RPGs. It's always so exciting to see the recipe light up when you finally have all the ingredients you need to build a new weapon. It's like opening up your birthday presents. Also, when you fight against other human characters, you have a chance to break their weapons, which will teach you the recipe you need to make that weapon for yourself. Which you probably should do, since it's some of the best equipment in the game. Though, while most of the rival's characters' weapons are very powerful, it still means that our hero
was able to build this in a cave! With a box of scraps!
The other feature that this game boasts is a branching story and dialogue options. Most of the time it's just how the hero responds to everybody else's insults, but occasionally the choices do have an effect on how the story unfolds. Like, at one point you go to an island that's occupied by the evil Empire and your friends get captured. You have a choice to rescue either Sanori or Razzie, and each one has different cutscenes that play out. Or you can get yourself caught by the soldiers and they'll take you straight to the boss. Actually having choices like this that affect a story is great. Another instance of player choice is answering a series of questions to choose which special guest character appears later on. In my playthrough, my choices got me Tuxedo Mask? Only joking, it's good for morale. It's actually one of the player characters from the original Summon Night, though most English-speaking players won't have a clue as to who these people are since none of the previous games had actually left Japan. Additionally, this game is also a dating sim. Every time you defeat one of the boss characters, you're given a choice of several supporting characters to go for a walk with, including your summon spirit. 2 of the summon spirits can talk, it's just the Plain and Cutty here who communicate via Pokemon speak. So the gameplay and replay value are definitely there, but now it's time to talk about presentation and some of the things that visually stood out to me. Like this enemy who looks like he's just had a big night on the town. Well, they say it's not a truly great night unless you come home with a traffic cone on your head. Then there's this place that looks like it was taken straight out of a Golden Sun game. Seriously, the first time I came to this section, I was tempted to try and freeze the puddle over there. I really like some of the character designs as well, like this girl Claire over here. I actually found myself looking at her for quite a while because of something very, very interesting about her character design. The fact that this is obviously Fina from Skies of Arcadia, who's also the medical officer from Valkyria Chronicles. But while the graphics and character designs are decent enough, we now need to address the elephant in the room. The 8-bit MIDI music. Oh no. I've not been using the soundtrack from the Game Boy Color game by mistake. This is actually music from Summon Night Swordcraft Story. What you're hearing is from this Game Boy Advance game. Now, I know the Game Boy Advance is limited in its sound manipulation. I wasn't expecting the sort of music you'd hear at Carnegie Hall, but having 8-bit music like this just makes it sound dated, even more so than it already is. It's like those synthesizers they use for the music in The Karate Kid. Now, graphics and sound are just first world problems when it comes to video games. Let's go on to the real issue I have with this game. The story and characters. As I said before, the story follows the structure of the tournament anime, complete with every single cliché associated with the genre. You have the hero oversleeping, the overbearing single mother, the arrogant rival. Several examples of an arrogant rival, in fact, because apparently the writers really loved this archetype. Although to the game's credit, at least it didn't fall back on that childhood friends cliché. When you're playing as the male character, he's the typical doormat heroine from any given shoujo anime. Even the dialogue options always have to have the people antagonizing you winning the argument. Like, here, your options are basically be the bigger person and have them mock you, or show that you have a spine and still have them mock you. Bron, your master, an old friend of your character's late father, to whom you are an apprentice to, is constantly shouting at and belittling you. He's also a degenerate pervert who's constantly trying it on with your character's mother. And now, a mini-episode of Geeky Psychology, on why trying it on with your friends' relatives make you a complete tosser who is devoid of any redeeming qualities. Because 1, it means that your time together is just a means to an end, i.e. that your friend is just a tool to help you get your leg over. 2, you are treating your friend's loved ones as if she's just a prize for you to win. And 3, if a relationship ends badly, your friend might cut you off. Basically, trying it on with your friend's family member shows that you don't value your relationship with your friend. So in The Big Bang Theory, Raj had every reason to be angry at Leonard when he tried it on with Priya. This has been Geeky Psychology. To put it simply, Ron is constantly disrespecting you, your late father, and your mother by acting as though he's entitled to be in a relationship with her. And that's before we get onto his favouritism towards Sanari, the absolute worst character in the game. Ron tells you about a sale of iron ore that's going on, and that you need iron to build your first weapon. But he actually told Sanari first, so she buys up all the ore that they have in stock so that nobody else can make weapons. And Bron says she's right to do this, that she's right to sabotage her competition in this way. Let that sink in. He's saying that she's right to cheat. And later on, when you face Sanari in the tournament, the sword he teaches you to build, there's a match for Sanari's sword, is blunt. He wants me to bring a blunt instrument to a sword fight. Anyway, despite all these setbacks, I managed to find some more in the end and build my first proper weapon. And once Bron's finished being a petty, spiteful old sod, I can finally go back to the mine and fight the enemies properly. That is, after my mother has finished interrupting with a completely pointless scene.
Oh, mother, for Christ's sakes, what do you want?
Nothing.
Nothing is the word. She hasn't come to give you an item, or to advance the plot, or to develop the characters anymore. She's interrupting the flow of gameplay just for the sake of it. I know I'm making a mountain out of a molehill by complaining about this one short cutscene, but it's annoying that the developers of an action RPG are putting off the actual action for as long as they possibly can. Now onto Sanari, whom, as I said earlier, is easily the worst character in the game. When you meet her again down the mine, she berates you for coming down without a proper weapon, and when reminded that she hogged all the iron ore so that you couldn't make any weapons, she's all,
I missed the part where that's my problem.
She says that you can have some of the materials that she found if you answer a quiz that only serves to boost her stupid ego, and all this ego stroking is just for a box of matches. You can find plenty of those on your own anyway. When the day of my second match comes around, this man starts hounding me to sell him some of the weapons that I forged. I decided against it because that's against the rules, and when I talked to Sanari about it, she just throws a gratuitous temper tantrum.
Time of the month?
Then, when it's time for my match, she demands that I miss the fight to help her get weapons back from that creepy guy. It turns out that somebody in the Silver Guild decided to break the rules and sell their weapons without permission. Now, remember her attitude about how I couldn't build weapons before because she hogged all the ore to herself and refused to share any of it with me? Yeah.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
But then everybody criticises me for refusing to help. my opponent gives me this pretentious speech about me having no pride as a craft knight. No, it's nothing to do with pride, mate. I just don't see why I should have to drop out of a tournament over something that isn't my problem. But after everyone begging and whining for me to go and help, I give in to peer pressure and rush to the rescue. Surprise, surprise, those weapons that were illegally sold to the Gold Guild? Yeah, they were all summaries. I'm risking it being disqualified from the tournament just to fix her mess for her. So after beating up Varro, the mastermind behind this devious plot to show up the Silver Guild, you think Samurai would be grateful and learn to keep her ego in check, right? Wrong. Wrong! Later on, when Razzie, aka Best Girl, tells you about an island where you can get plenty of ore, Samurai tries to persuade you not to go. But the next day, surprise surprise, she's taken Bron's last boat to go to the island herself. Once again, trying to hog all the ore just for herself. Nope, she still hasn't grown out of it. She's the sort of character that has a huge ego but no self-confidence. For all her bragging, she's still so insecure about her lack of skills that she has to sabotage other people's efforts and bring them down to her level. If the Silver Guild were a theatre group, Samurai would be the sort of prima donna that deliberately leaves out everybody else's cue lines to make them look bad, just to cover the fact that she can't act. Yes, I've been unfortunate enough to have to work with a diva like that before, but I think what I hate most about this character is this ridiculous hero worship everybody else has for her. Whoever wrote the dialogue for this game seems to have this delusion in their head that if they have enough characters dumping false praise on the Samurai and fawning over her every chance they get, they can trick the players into liking her. It's the same kind of bad writing that ruins characters like Penny from The Big Bang Theory, or Gladys from Heidi High, or Wesley Crusher from Star Trek. This is most evident towards the end of the game. Now, be warned, I'm going to give away some huge spoilers here. If you want to avoid them, I've noted the spoiler safe zones in the description below. Anyway, back to my ranting. Towards the end of the game, you fight Samurai in the semi-finals, and after you beat her, you discover that she sold her soul to the final boss because she's so insecure about you being better than her, and she steals the weapon that you beat her with because even when possessed by a sealed force of evil, she's still a petty, spoiled little brat. The final boss is an ancient demon that our hero's father sealed away with 4 sacred swords, and the evil empire is trying to revive it. Well, it wouldn't be a tournament anime without some face of the world threat, would it? The Craft Lords put together a rescue team and go to look for Samurai. They tell me to focus on the final match against Varro, but from then on, it's the worst case of dumping false praise on a character that I've ever seen in a video game. Okay, except for that tosser from the Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. The Craft Lords are already down the line to rescue Samurai, and Mum's all, "But I want you to save her!" She insists that I'm a horrible person for following the instructions I was given, and letting the Craft Lords actually do the job that our taxes pay them for! Then she preaches that you're not being honest with yourself if you're not head over heels in love with that little scrubber. Aramis is like one of those rabid fangirls who trolls fanfiction.net, claiming every single story where her OTP isn't together. God almighty, this is the most unlikable set of characters I've seen since I binge-watched the anime Love Hina. Even the hero's dad doesn't treat him like a human being. If you have Sugar as your summon spirit, it's revealed that he promised her your hand in marriage. Oh, what am I gonna say in this? Am I nothing more than a bargaining tool? How many other people have you married me off to just to pay for your part-time, you drunken deadbeat? Then again, I suppose there are worse people you could be in an arranged marriage with.
Oh, do you think this marriage could really work?
Who knows? We can always get divorced.
Of course. God bless America.
So to get Mum off my back, I head down to the mine again, fighting my way to the deepest depths. But then came one of the biggest shocks of the game. It turns out to be the ultimate sword that's guaranteed to vanquish the final boss. You're asked to add the soul of your summon creature. In order to build this weapon, I have to say goodbye to Cutty. After everything we've been through together, all the toil and trouble, the good times, the bad times, the blood, sweat and tears, I've been asked to sacrifice my loyal companion for the greater good. So after all this time, the time would come to say,
Sacrifice out!
yeah, I'm not going to sacrifice my best friend who's been with me from the start, just for the sake of an ungrateful, spoiled, and manipulative little brat who sold her soul just to boost her own ego. Again, this decision does affect how the story ends. If you choose not to sacrifice your summon spirit, the weapon you build will be less powerful, but they'll still be there to help you in the final battle. So with cutting at my side and the Infinity -1 sword in my hand, I got to put this strangely familiar looking dragon back in its place. And when I win, more false praise is being dumped on Samurai for virtues and talents she never possessed. So now all that's left is a final match against Varro, which you don't actually get to do. Just as the fight starts, here come the closing credits. But you apparently won according to the cutscene at the end, where you're out on a date with whoever you spent the most time with. I chose Razzie because, 1, unlike Samurai, she's actually a decent person, 2, she's Bronze niece, and it gives that creepy old lech a taste of his own medicine, and 3, the fact that she disguises herself as a boy reminds me of Viola from Twelfth Night, which is my favourite Shakespeare play, and it gives me an excuse to end the review by quoting it. Cesario, come, for so you shall be known while you are a man, but when in other garments you are seen, Claru's mistress, and his fancy's queen. To sum up, this is a heavily flawed game. The tournament side of the story is as cliched as it gets, the 8-bit music makes it sound even more dated than it already is, and some of the characters like Samurai and Brom are just outright detestable.
Okay, you know what? I've already mooched dinner off you guys. I don't need to listen to this.
Well, maybe not that detestable, but still pretty bad. I say that all these problems would make this a 6 out of 10 game. But my personal rating is a begrudging 7 out of 10. Despite the aforementioned shortcomings, the gameplay itself is solid enough to carry it through, and for all my complaining about the story and characters, I honestly found myself invested enough to see it through to the end. There's even post-game content, like new areas in the mine that are unlocked after the end credits, exhibition matches against your opponents from the tournament, and even a 5th summon spirit that you can swap out with your main one. It's just a shame that the game was never officially released in the United Kingdom. Maybe that's something to do with Sugar snogging the female player character. Damn you all the way to hell, censorship!